Welcome everybody to a very special video here on the channel. We're taking a look at, this is the first of my Games of Ill Repute video series. This was an idea that the Patreons liked and they helped fund last month. The idea is to look at games that earn controversy, either due to graphic or mature themes, negative reception, problems with the design, and more, and see if we can figure out if that was warranted and if there was anything positive to get from those games. And if you guys like the idea of this video series, maybe we can keep this as an ongoing video series or an ongoing goal on patreon.com/GWBycer. But the first game voted was a game I never thought I would actually get to play, and that is Simcity. This is the 2013 version of the game, and probably one of the more infamous titles out of EA, if we don't count Battlefront 2 at the moment. But the SimCity franchise has been a celebrated one among PC gamers, as well as other consoles or other platforms as well. The first game was released way back in 1989, and I feel really old, by of course Will Wright and Maxis. And each game has earned its very much respectable fan base and support. I love SimCity 2000. I had that intro theme stuck in my head until the end of time. And I also enjoyed SimCity 4, I believe that was the one that was released on Steam. So when reports were circulating that Maxis was going to work on a brand new game, following of course all the time they spent with The Sims, fans were very excited, and as was I. But the first major issue for this game was the unforced online modes. And SimCity, right off the bat, SimCity 2013, definitely suffered, I think, a lot of self-inflicted wounds by the developers and by EA. So, what we're going to do is jump into the game, and we'll talk a little bit more about what multiplayer meant for SimCity. But first, we'll talk about the general gameplay for those of you who have, for some strange reason, know who I am, but have never heard of the franchise. But I'll see you all in a minute. Alright, welcome in-game to SimCity 2013. So, SimCity 2013, as well as the entirety of the series, is all about city management. The idea, of course, is that we're going to have free reign to design the city of our dream or nightmare, depending upon what your goal is. Now, there's a lot on the screen to look at, and we're going to try and take this one at a time. But you have freedom to design your city, with the limitations being money, or simoleons, because the game follows a lot of the Sims. So what I'm going to do right now is we can draw different kinds of city streets. You can see the density that it's going to allow for as well. Let's see, what do we have? We don't want a low density dirt road. Let's go for this. And for right now, we're just going to do something very straightforward. So there's our medium. And we can also turn the road in any directions we like. This will lead into our residential. Like so. And building a city is about zoning out the various sections. As you can see down here, we have various facilities or services as well. But we have our zones. What's he complaining about? We are connected. What you talking about, game? Says we're connected. No one can connect the road to the highway, then zone along roads. Thank you, game. Wonder if it doesn't like our road. Or maybe it's the fact that we're not paused. There we go. When time is paused, apparently it's not counting what we're looking at. Let me put this down to turtle speed so we can actually start building things out. There we go, that's much better. So the idea, of course, as with real life, is we're going to set up 3 different areas of construction. Residential, commercial, and industrial. Residential is, of course, where people will move into and live. Commercial is where they will go to buy goods, which are then made in factories in our industrial area. And you'll start to see little homes form over the next few minutes. So there's that. So some that right there. Now if I increase the speed, you're going to see the little houses start to build. There they go, people are moving in. Now what I'm going to do, build out over here. Because we want people to commute over to some factories. And of course, you have complete freedom to build however you see fit. So we have some homes coming in. But now people want services or utilities. Also, take note the dynamic UI that's showing up where water, electricity, education are needed. And we can build however we want. If we want our factory or our town to be a coal or pollution pumping but commercially viable town, we can do that. If we want to keep things very low, we can also go along those lines. Yeah, we'll build a town hall soon. Don't you worry about it. But how are we going to do it? Because we don't have the money to go too expensive right now. As you can see, we are down 0.1 megawatts. You can see as we're moving this around how much power we are gaining or losing. Even go up here if we wanted to. So I'm going to build like a low road. Way out in the boondocks, I guess, of our town for right now. This will work for right now. Now it needs to get hired, so people, as they move in, will come work with us. Because they need to find jobs. Same thing, we need to pump some water. And let's go... where do we want to go? Basically, the roads in SimCity 2013 are the de facto connections for how everything works in our city. If it's not connected to a road, it doesn't exist. And as you can see, water is going to start flowing in and around. I can now build a town hall. There you go. This will make our people happier, and will also give more reason for people to move into our town. We'll keep the name, but as you can see, we have power. Water is good. We don't need to worry about sewage just yet. course, we can zoom in and... Yeah, we know. They're basically trying to give us little jobs to help do things here. What? Yeah. So now we come over here. There's more commercial demand. So let's do that. Because apparently people want their cheap food, generic pizza, and gas. Okay, so we need more freight. There we go. Now business will start to move in. People will go higher there, which will produce the freight that will get sent to our industrial zone, or our commercial, I'm sorry. And of course we can pack them in as best we can. And you can see we're making 106 simoleons an hour. There you go. And it's just about that steady progression in terms of I build one zone which enhances another zone, which creates more demand, and the cycle continues around and around. Game Theory Barbecue. Okay. And we can zoom in and look at stuff like that. Donuts. Not a lot of donuts and burger shops here. Now, in terms of the agent system in SimCity 2013, the agent system is essentially how services and structure flow around our city. It's very, when we talk about agents, we're talking about kind of the walker system from the old days of the Impressions era. Games like Pharaoh, Caesar, Children of the Nile, stuff like that. A pull system is when the services or utilities will pull walkers or agents to their respective buildings and give the service like that. It's more of a realistic way. A push service is when the service itself will send out the resource or basically push it out, which is then delivered or given to our people. The walker system of the old Impressions era was an abstracted form of that push system. When you saw the little people walking around with pots on their heads, water barrels, stuff like that, that was the abstraction of that service flowing around your city. And if we look at SimCity 2013, it uses the push system. The service is right here. It pushes it out, and anything that's connected gets it. It's far less realistic, but it's less strain on the computer or on the game. Now, as you can see, we have more demand. We can also look at education. We don't really have the money for that just yet. We could also raise taxes. Because people like more taxes, right? Alright, so now there's more demand. And residential in each zone can be put up into three qualities: low, medium, and high value. So low is like suburban households, medium is kind of apartments, and then high are like the mansions and the big places like that. And every building in this game, in terms of its utility, has a zone of influence. So right there, if you see that green overlay on the roads, that shows what areas this fire station can get to if there's trouble. Our factories are coming in. Some more neighbors. Hopefully this can connect, or I may actually... build a little cul-de-sac, that's fine. There's our guideline. And as so. You can see our people moving super fast around. They still want more work. What are you complaining about? But we need taxes for money. The the grand problem, right? There we go. Get those factories built, and we get some more work for everybody. Now, a very interesting, I mean, we may want to take a look at this in another piece, is City Skylines. And we'll talk about why that is later on in this video. As you can see, the factors are growing up. And if we need them, we can build additional utilities, including mass transit, buses, boats, planes, you name it. And of course we can also send disasters down if we just really want to watch our city get destroyed. Alright, how's everybody doing? Now, one thing that's very interesting is we're not seeing cars drive around on our roads. I don't know if that's a performance issue or what, but that is actually, again, very telling of the lack of detail in the simulation model. In City Skylines and other ones, the roads were being occupied, and you can actually see where trouble spots were. Okay, they're happy. Sewage is piling up, though. So we will place our sewage right here. Again, as the service flows, you'll see all that junk being pulled out of our city. There it goes. And of course, let's point out the obvious fact. This is not realistic at all, in the sense that the roads are occupying all aspects of the simulation here. How are you doing? And of course, we can even look at our overlay here to see how things are working. So these are very high sources of pollution. Let's get out of there. There we go. Get that nasty stuff away. Alright. We'll have to lower taxes just a little because we need money. Right like that. And more people will be moving in. And the circle of city life continues. Come on, people, start coming in. Alright, what do we have? Got a lot of people wanting to move in, which is nice. So come on, people. Move. There we go. Why aren't you happy? There we go. So as you can see, the roads are only being used when there's actually something going on. As in, people are moving in. Or something's getting constructed. But yeah, so far this seems very simplified compared to other city-style games or city-building-style games. Let's see, can I build right out here? Don't do that. Uh-oh, they need health care. We don't have the money for that. Whatever will we do? Come on, people, start moving in. We'll go things to super speed and see what's going on. Again, if we wanted to go really high, we could add a whole lot more. We can also beautify our land. Right there. Like how it says we're making a lot of profit and we're getting frowny faces. They want parks. Where can we fit a park, actually? Right next to the industrial zone. Perfect. No, thank you. We don't need to know about budgets. But as you can see, our people are happy. They are moving in. And we have more money. Let's see, where is religion? There's home. Oh, I'm trying to get more people to move in. We're still doing good with power. Look at them go. And again, the games, even though there are little goals over here, it's more about freedom to build however you want. I wonder why it's not letting me go to medium. Unless they want us to unlock it. That's the only thing I can think of here. Come on, people, move on in. Now, with that said, though, usually when it comes to these kinds of city builders, you're able to have a very wide berth in terms of what you're designing. But it's time to talk about the controversial part of SimCity 2013 and where a lot of the trouble appeared. So, I'll see you all in a second. Alright, it's time to talk about the elephant in the room, or I guess the elephant in the region. SimCity 2013's most controversial decision was to have forced online interaction, which for a city builder makes no sense. But this had to do with the idea of regions. And while it sounds okay on paper, how it was implemented in SimCity 2013 just did not work, and it did not make fans happy. So, as I said previously, the regions or the areas in a city builder were big and wide enough to allow you to construct any reasonable town that you wanted. Did you want a striving metropolis of skyscrapers and subway cars and airports and all that? You could do it. If you wanted to just build like a simple like a countryside with farms and such, you could do that as well. And that was the whole point of SimCity 4. With this one, the real estate for these areas is very small, and it's also fixed. I mean, look at this. In the last, I guess, how long have we been doing this for? Maybe like 15, 20 minutes? We have already, if I can, I'm not sure if it's going to let me zoom in, we've already filled up a quarter of this region. And I'm going to assume by like maybe 30, 40 minutes in, we'll have this entire area filled in if we were to keep playing. So the idea is, instead of you making one city of your dreams, you're supposed to think about this in terms of these various areas. Each area has its own set of resources and what it has to offer. And the idea is that you're going to build a city to then support the other cities. So for instance, let's say that I build a lot of low wealth workers and jobs here. I could build like a tourist zone over here in Clearwater and have my Sims relocate or take transportation, or commute over there to spend money. So the idea is that the region itself is growing as part of your various cities. But the cities themselves just aren't that big enough, or there's just not enough here to really let you create custom cities in the same way as the city skyline, or city skyline, sorry. And then the idea is you have a great work, which is supposed to be the grand challenge. And if you do that, the entire region will get a benefit. But the idea, though, again, while it sounds good on paper, it makes this game very limited because of it. It kind of reminds me of what they did in the Anno series, especially Anno, I want to say 2205, if I remember. That one went full on, essentially open world city builder, where you had the entire planet open, and you were constructing stuff in one region to provide services to another region, to then go back to another region to produce higher quality goods. And it worked because the maps were so freaking big that you had complete freedom. It was still very limited and not a true simulation model. And that was one of the key points of SimCity. Now again, I can go to these various areas if I want to rebuild and stuff like that. And also keep in mind that if we were playing this online, we could have friends who are basically building the cities themselves, and then we communicate like that. But again, when you're playing a city builder, it's really more about you as the architect rather than you and a bunch of friends. So right here, I can see that this area is really good for water. And then we have wind over here. So I could build water. I could focus on water and clear water. I know that's a big shock. And then let that water build in surplus, ship it to the other cities here to save money. And again, it sounds like a very clever idea, but when the real estate is so small, like I don't know why I couldn't build in this mountain area. It just makes it very hard to convince, or it's very hard to get this to work. There's a plane going by. And to make things even more interesting, I'm going to exit out to the main menu for a second. We come over here. There's really only a few regions in this game, and of course they have different sizes and stuff along those lines, but it's still a fixed area. This isn't the same as a game that will procedurally or randomly generate terrain, or like in previous SimCity games, literally allow you to create the land and then you put the city down. And everything about this game, from what I've seen so far, feels like a step backwards. But I'm going to start another city, start building things up, and we'll talk more about whether or not this gameplay has anything worth salvaging next. Alright, welcome back. This is taking place in another region, and we're a lot further along. We have some medium density or medium size buildings, medium wealth as well. Here's my town hall or city hall over here. And what I did was, in order to improve, we have to improve, or we have to beautify the land. And you can see that right here. The higher the value, more or higher class people will move in. And of course, they bring more money as well. And then as our tech level goes up, we'll be able to get higher quality factories as well. And as you can see down here by our zoning, there's a lot of demand. Also, pay no attention to the fact that I have my sewage outflow pipe right next to my residential area. Just pretend that's what you don't do in SimCity, or in just regular city structures as well. But just to show you, let's do something very fancy. Let's put it right there. And now these houses should start to transform. We'll see. Well, we got this guy starting to transform, going to level 2, thanks to the land value. And of course, by raising the value up, it's going to increase the amount of money. Oh, look, we have kind of like a Walmart kind of store right there. And let's speed things up a little bit. There we go. They're starting to upgrade over there. And of course, more people are moving in. Take note that there are cars now on some of our streets, but the cars themselves aren't from people driving. They're the services and utilities happening. As you can see, they're starting to upgrade, which means more and more money. They're now considered level 2. A little bit more value, and we'll have rank 3. We can also upgrade our density and get these apartments and condominiums as well. Got a big old factory right there. But as you can see, there's a lot of interest in moving in now, so we need to set something up. And the roads themselves determine what can be built. It's a very simple system. So like, these are already high density. Can upgrade that a little bit more. They're already at high, so don't need to do anything else. There we go. And we'll see if that upgrades some of these homes along the way. Now, I've been a lot negative on SimCity 2013, but I do want to talk about one thing that I do like about the game. And that's this idea of upgrading buildings. Typically in a city builder, buildings are immortal. Once you place them down, you never see them change or adjust. In this one, you can put add-ons that will change or improve the structure. So over here, we can improve our Department of Education. We could even add a Department of Safety. If I come over here and click on our school, what's going on here? Oh, we need more workers. So many people want to move in now, which I guess is not a bad problem to have, right? But if I come over here and we click on the... Where's my school? There we go. We can add additional function here. We can make more buses. Just put it right there. And this in turn will cause the building to cost a little bit more, but add additional functionality in the process. Do the same thing to our garbage dump, our power plants. I think it's just a nice way of improving buildings and giving them more structure as time goes on. Very similar to the add-ons they do in Anno 2205, but I think this has a little bit more personality to it. As you can see, more and more people are still moving in. And if we zoom out, you can see we've basically taken over a good half of our map here, I would say. Maybe a little less. So what I'm going to do is we're going to expand. Maybe we'll try to build some... Let's go for some deluxe apartments. Go. And commercial buildings also improve via the land value. Again, take note of how actually few cars there are on my roads. That's still getting constructed. They're all moving in. And we have a fire. Click on this again. Don't want to close City Hall. As you can see, you can only have one of these available. And this, I'm going to pause the game here for a second. Once again, it goes back to this focus on the region rather than your city. The idea is, I'm going to construct a very small, very compact city here, and then we're going to move on to another one and do things differently. And the idea is that the region as a whole should support each other. And while that's not a bad goal to have, the problem is without an effective simulation model and goals to go after, it's just essentially fluff in a sense. If I zoom back down to my city, we have specializations, which we're going to talk about in the next minute. But where was it? I'm trying to find... here it is. So there's additional buildings you can just construct. And the idea behind these specializations are they're supposed to gear your specific city towards a specific path. For instance, if I go the... Where's gambling? Here, if we go the gambling route, we're going to do this. And then these buildings become available, and it's going to, again, tilt our city that way. It's very similar in structure to SimCity Societies, which is a very interesting incidental here. That was developed by Tilted Mill. And what they did in that one was you had different themes, like fantasy, horror, spirituality, capitalism, stuff like that. And each theme had its own selection or own group of buildings relating to all the various services. And then as you build structures from that specific theme, it would move your city, kind of like a morality slider, towards these specific themes, which will unlock more stuff. And it became a part of the challenges to unlock all manner of crazy buildings by specializing cities, focusing on specific tracks, and it was a very interesting way that unfortunately the game just didn't catch on. Now the problem with this is there are goals to go after, but it's nowhere near in terms of the variety and interesting aspects compared to previous SimCity games. So as you can see, and by the way, to get the city to this state, I will say it's taken me about 30 to 40 minutes of play. Not too long, but still kind of on the light side compared to other city builders. So I'm going to see if we can get these buildings to turn into apartments. A little bit there. And the game doesn't really do a good job of showing you, I think, a lot of the advanced aspects of the simulation model. Such as it's hard to tell where high traffic is. I could put buses and streetcars and all that other great stuff down, but I'm not sure why I would need to do that. In fact, if you come over here to education, I've been putting down bus stops, but I'm just not sure if they're actually doing anything. It's making people happy, but that's about it. And again, you can see a lot of people walking on the streets. Those are probably supposed to represent the agents. Yeah, no thank you. Our people are happy enough right now. But it's nowhere near the same level as something like City Skylines or even earlier SimCity titles. Now, we're over 200, or we're about to be over 200,000 in simoleons. Let's see, our density is growing. Let's see, this should be a high density road, yep. So I'm going to try, what's going on here? Need more medium wealth, okay. Let's put a good old park. Let's go for... And I also don't see the option to rotate these buildings. There we go. We'll make them happier and then they'll start to evolve. There we go. And because the density is higher up, it should get them to turn to apartments as time goes on, as you can see right there. But let's do a specialization. Because I've been waiting until I got to the point where we have the money, hopefully, to start doing this. And maybe these apartments will pop up as time goes on. We'll see. But if we pause here, this land is built on oil and coal. As you can see, there's a good old deposit of oil right up there. So I need to build to get to that lovely black gold, as I presume Texan Sim is suggesting. So what I'm going to do, let's see, can I build a bridge? Let's see. Oop, come on. I'm honestly surprised it doesn't automatically do that, but let's just set this up. What's the problem here? I think probably we need to make the road higher, I would suppose. Go on. Let's see, maybe we can just finish this out. Why won't you work, game? Can I create smooth enough terrain? We gotta get the road somehow. Angle too sharp. There's our massive bridge. Alright, you know what? Wait, what buildings are abandoned? 28 deaths, nice. Alright, well, let's see if we can get a fancy road built. Come on, game. Why are you doing this to me? There we go. Get rid of that. We'll build a fancy road. Come on. Give me a bridge. It's gonna be expensive, but hopefully this will do the job. Yay! And now, you just need to get a... Come on, game. Good. And the roads, again, operate as your entire lifeline when it comes to infrastructure. Alright. There we go. So we're essentially specializing in oil. So we'll see what happens as cars are now heading over there. You can also set up a trade expo. And this will transfer freight outside of this area to the other cities if we wanted to go that route. Let's get those workers going, because we need oil. Alright, there's still... Oop. And yes, everyone talks in Simish. And now we want to do that. We need to pump out enough oil. And now, if we pop out over here, we can trade our services to the other areas. Let's come back down here. If we want to, we could also enhance our buildings, as you can see. Where attack armadillos? And we'll see if that does anything. Oh, we're running out of power again. I'll build something right over here. Again, as long as it's connected to a road, the power will automatically go. It's also even hard to see where my workers are. Or in terms of like how many are we actually dealing with. Let's see. No, it doesn't tell us there. And again, we wanted to upgrade. We'll put this right there. And as you can see, they're starting to change as well. Everybody just evolves. Click on this. Alright, so there's our oil coming in. Have the high density city or the high density roads. Oop. Another apartment just opened up. There you go, we're going power. Or we should be, at least. And then we can, of course, build more here. If we wanted, we could build an expo center. And we could even build a coal mine. And look at that, the only coal deposit is literally right in our middle of our town. It's just like a after school special. Do we destroy the homes to make money? And I guess we should keep our homes, right? Build attractions, and of course some of this stuff is actually built into the DLC that you can buy. But let me see here. We could turn... let's see, Department of Utilities. So, like, let's put something down here. Oh, here's a helipad. But if I place this, do it right there. Now I need to wait until the sea all gets improved again before I add something else. But now, while we are building this oil, it's not really telling me like what I can actually use it on, if at all. We have fires. People are getting killed too. That's great. But let's see. Not enough medium wealth. Yeah, we know. Now let's build this around here. People don't mind going shopping near our water tower and our sewage, right? Now if we look over here, so they're very happy, very profitable. You can see how things are going. Let's see. People are still talking. And again, the simulation model just doesn't really have all that much to offer us. We can build this up here. And at this point, the rest of the goals really don't matter. Well, buildings are not getting power. Why aren't they getting power? There we go. Just took a little bit to get there. Now, give me that oil. And what we'll do, I think very quickly, see if we can upgrade ourselves to super high fancy living. Let's see. Can we do it? It's a good spot for some fanciness. Where can we go? Don't want to wreck too many things. Guess people like living next to the school. Let's go right here. Because everyone wants to live near City Hall, right? Looks like we're getting some upper class people here. There we go. Come on in, everybody. And we can't build our own refinery just yet. But the idea is that due to the sizes of the regions, there's just not enough space to really go all over the place. So let's see what we got here. What's wrong with you? Alright, let's do it. Place it right there. So we want to use that oil. We could do it in power. It's going to cost a lot, but it should help us in terms of our overall power. Get that oil going. There you go. What's wrong here? And again, if we had other cities, we could be shipping the oil. Oh, as you can see, we got some apartments there. The land is still not high enough for us to get the elites. Oh, let's make it even more beautiful, right? We want the upper crust. There we go. Now that's super high. And now we got the mansions coming in. And of course, you know, mansions mean a lot of money. So, we'll head back to the main menu as our mansions are finishing up. Look at that. The upper crust there. I'm not sure what that sound effect was for. Now, what's wrong with them? See, we have a lot of room, but we're just running out in terms of where we can actually build. As you can see, probably in another 15 to 20 minutes of play. Uh-oh, there's a robbery. We need the police here. Let's see. There we go. Police will come and help, right? And just keep building. And it's just very straightforward. But I want to talk more about why the region system just was really, I think, the biggest shot in the foot to SimCity 2013. And of course, we could end this with a zombie attack if you guys really want. Unfortunately, my inner city planner is preventing me from doing so. As you can see, people are moving in. Here are our data maps again. Vast majority of people are happy. That's good enough for me. And of course, if we wanted to go even higher, we could build more in terms of education. As you can see right there. But ultimately, this leads to, again, the limitations of the region system and how much it really messes with the game in terms of its overall sim model. But I'm going to head back to the main menu now, and we're going to discuss things a little bit further there. Alright, it's time for my final thoughts on this little game of ill repute. SimCity 2013 is not, I wouldn't say it is a garbage fire or a horrible game now. But it is important to remember its, I guess, quote-unquote legacy. When the game was originally released, the limited region size and Force Online mode were two massive shots that the game never really recovered from. There's also an in-game store that sells additional DLC, including expansions, as well as like little additional stuff as well. But the problem with SimCity 2013 is that it really doesn't come close to the heights of previous sim games. I almost said Civilization. One of the things that I think is even worse off in this one compared to Cities Skylines is the lack of actual goals. Now, you saw that there were building requirements, but it's all really very much bare bones. If I want college, I need more education. If I want to build a expo center, I need more money. And the idea of specializing your city, it sounds good on paper, but it's still kept very paper thin. And SimCity Societies, I think, did it better, and at some point I need to actually load that game up, and maybe that could be another game of ill repute at some point, considering the negative feedback or backlash it got at launch. But SimCity 2013, unfortunately, this is just a really good case of, I guess, being done or being killed before it was even out of the gates. When people started to dig into the simulation model, they found very much a lot of it was lacking. As you saw over the course of this video, there's very little in terms of things being modeled. Again, roads aren't supposed to carry everything. And many city simulators or city builders will allow you to designate piping and subways and stuff like that. And it's very important to have not exactly a realistic, but an effective simulation model as the foundation for your city builder, if you're going that route. With the Impressions era city builders, there really wasn't a quote-unquote simulation model, but it was still built to abstractly represent life, and then that became kind of part of the puzzle solving and the modeling. Here, it's very hard to get accurate data as to what my sims and my utilities are actually doing. And again, this is a very big difference from Cities Skylines, which gave you all matter of infographics and I forget the term now off the top of my head. I think it was either emergent or procedural UIs. I think it may have been emergent, where it will actually update you in real time where things are going, what parts of your city are in trouble, or I'm sorry, the correct term is dynamic, a dynamic UI. We see some of that here in SimCity, but nowhere near that same level. Now, the idea, I want to go back to the specializations and the regions for a second, because they also, I think, are kind of the ribbon on this bad present. So, the specializations, it sounds like a good idea, but again, because the regions are so small, it's very hard to see their actual impact and build cities that are that unique or specialized. Again, SimCity Societies does it a lot better. And when you tie goals and rewards to that, it works. Now, to be fair to SimCity 2013, Cities Skylines had the same exact problem, with giving you a reason to flesh out or make different cities. But the simulation model underneath that was strong enough to make the game actually require some thought, and really let you get creative and in the process get rewarded. Now, with SimCity 2013, the region mode, again, it sounds better on paper than it is here. The problem is that Maxis, and I don't know if this was an EA mandate or what, really put all their chips on the table for this specific setting, hence why it had online only to begin with. But the problem is that a lot of the issues with SimCity 2013 in terms of its growth stem from the region mode. I don't want to build 3 to 5 different cities. I want to build one amazing city and then let that one grow and do its own thing. I shouldn't have to rely on friends or myself to build 2 to 3 other cities and let things connect that way. Because when we get to that layer in terms of abstraction, there's nothing else we're really doing. I click a button that says, okay, send garbage trucks here, or send additional water here, and we get money, but yeah, that's about it. And again, if you want to see that kind of open structure work, definitely check out Anno 2205, which that could definitely be its own dissecting design at some point if it doesn't blow up my computer in the process. But Anno 2205 gave you these massive regions, and the idea is that all of this was a part of your quote-unquote city. And the idea was getting logistics going to support every region, and then those regions will support everybody else. And you had the macro goal of population and completing specific projects to help give you some sense of progress. Now, the catch, though, is that Anno 2205 had no simulation model at all. It was all built abstractly on logistics of moving goods around. There is no real reason not to just plop 15 apartments next to each other. There's no zoning stuff along those lines. But I was telling this on Twitter, I would love to see a middle ground. Give me a simulation model on par or even greater than City Skylines with the open structure of a game like Anno. And we could even add in some SimCity societies to make it even bigger. But nevertheless, SimCity 2013, again, I wouldn't say this is a horrible game. Like, I don't feel angry about playing it, at least now, but I can see why a lot of people, especially fans of previous SimCities, would feel this way. The lack of features, structure, and really just the complexity that you expect out of the genre are not here. And it just really sucks. I guess that's the polite way of putting it, because Maxis was really set to have another winner. Because there was no more Tilted Mill at that time, and the city builder genre was pretty much ripe for the taking. And not only did they drop the ball, but they basically just delivered it on a velvet pillow to City Skyline developer, who I'm afraid I don't remember their name off the top of my head. But it was that failure that really helped to elevate City Skylines. But again, if I'm not careful, we'll just turn to talking about that game for the next 10 minutes. For those of you watching this right now who've played SimCity 2013, what did you make of it? Do things actually get bigger? Or is this all that we're really going to see? And can you think of other city builders who have done things better outside, of course, of City Skylines? But with that said, thank you for watching this special Game of Ill Repute. If you like this video series and you want to see more of it, let me know, and maybe we can make that as a, like I said at the start, I guess a standing goal on patreon.com/JWBycer. But otherwise, if you enjoy things, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Check back for daily discussions on design here and on Game Wisdom, where we examine the art and science of games. And next week, we'll be back with a Dissecting Design, where we'll be looking at a game that was, I hope, a lot more favorable than this one. Until then, have a good night. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Check back around 10 Eastern for regular streaming. If you'd like to suggest games for me to cover or topics to talk about, let me know in the comments below. For a collection of my writings as well as weekly podcasts on design, check out game-wisdom.com. To support the Game Wisdom Patreon, you can find us on there on patreon.com/GWBycer. $1 will get you into our private Discord channel where we talk game topics and more. $5 will get you voting privileges for any major event, including the Saturday Night Grab Bag, Patreon-funded goals, and more. Thanks again for watching, and I hope you enjoy more videos here on the Game Wisdom YouTube channel.